Myanmar South China Sea on the table as ASEAN leaders meet for 46th summit. UN warns Gaza entering cruelest phase of war as Palestinians starve. Good afternoon and Salam Malaysia Madani. Thanks for joining us. I'm Olivia Nicholas and you're watching World Today. ASEAN leaders will focus on Myanmar's crisis and the South China Sea talks as its 46th summit. Its Secretary-General Kao Kim Hon said ASEAN has been responding both collectively and individually to developments in Myanmar, including the recent devastating earthquake. He also noted that while tensions persist in the South China Sea, both China and ASEAN are committed to finalizing this negotiation by next year. He added that the bloc is charting a long-term path for the region.
ASEAN is not being reactive, but being very visionary by having this long-term vision and use this as a roadmap to guide the ASEAN community building, to guide the way we will continue to accelerate our regional integration, and the way we will continue our engagement with our external partners.
The ASEAN chief said the two-day summit in Kuala Lumpur, running from tomorrow to Tuesday, also marks the unveiling of the ASEAN Community Vision 2045 and 4 new strategic plans aimed at fostering regional integration and cooperation. ASEAN has taken a diplomatic approach in handling the shift of United States trade policy without resorting to confrontations. It was highlighted by the Investment, Trade and Industry Minister Tengku Datuk Zafrul Tengku Abdul Aziz in his speech during the 25th ASEAN Economic Community Council AECC meeting. The minister noted that instead of retaliating, ASEAN have chosen dialogue and cooperation path with a clear commitment to not impose retaliatory measures against Washington. The minister highlighted that ASEAN's response in addressing the recent shifts in economic posture by the United States, US so far has been measured and wise. The 25th AECC meeting convened today on the sidelines of the 46th ASEAN Summit with 11 agendas up for discussion among the bloc state representatives, with talks focused on deeper cooperation. Palestinians in Gaza are enduring what may be the cruelest phase of the conflict, says the United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres, warning that Israel's escalating military campaign and prolonged blockade have pushed the population to the brink of famine. For nearly 80 days, Israel blocked the entry of life-saving international aid, Guterres said in a statement, condemning the scale of human suffering. Although Israel has allowed only several hundred trucks to cross into Gaza this week, following a partial easing of its 11-week siege, Guterres described the flow of supplies as woefully insufficient. He said all the aid authorized until now amounts to a teaspoon of aid when a flood of assistance is required. The UN chief said the Israeli campaign has intensified with atrocious levels of death and destruction, while access for humanitarian groups remains dangerous and erratic. Guterres noted that 80% of Gaza has been either declared an Israeli militarized zone or is under evacuation orders. Guterres also said that without rapid, reliable, safe and sustained aid access, more Palestinians will die and the long-term consequences on the entire population will be profound. Meanwhile, a sense of anger and devastation grows after an Israeli attack killed 9 children of Gaza doctor Ala al-Najjar while she worked at a hospital in Khan Yunis. The attack hit the home of al-Najjar, a pediatrician, at the southern city's Nasser hospital on Friday, setting it ablaze and killing 9 of her 10 children. The dead children, 2 of whom remain under rubble, range in age from 7 months to 12 years old.
Al-Najr's husband was critically injured in the attack. He has severe chest and head wounds, including a skull fracture, and is now receiving treatment in Nasser Hospital's intensive care unit. The couple's only surviving child, 11-year-old Adam, is also severely injured. The Palestinian government media office said the attack encapsulates the ongoing genocide faced by the Palestinians in Gaza. It added that it is a full-fledged war crime under all international laws and conventions. The UN Special Rapporteur for the Palestinian Territory, Francesca Albanese, also slammed the attack as part of a sadistic pattern of a new phase of genocide facing Palestinians in the besieged enclave. The U.S. ambassador to Turkey, who has assumed the role of Syria envoy, said on Saturday he had met the Syria's interim leader following Washington's lifting of sanctions on the war-torn country. Tom Barak, who met with interim leader Ahmed al-Shara in Istanbul, said in a statement that the United States reiterated its support for the Syrian people after so many years of conflict and violence.
Barak said U.S. President Donald Trump's goal is to enable the new government to create the conditions for the Syrian people to not only survive but thrive. The Syrian president met the U.S. envoy accompanied by his foreign minister Assad al-Shaibani. Earlier Saturday, Shara met Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan in Istanbul. Since Bashar al-Assad's ouster, the new administration has been looking to build relations with the West and roll back sanctions, but some governments had expressed reluctance, pointing to the past of leading figures. The EU announced the lifting of sanctions earlier this month, and Washington followed suit on Friday. Both Erdogan and Shara have also expressed their determination to work together to combat terror threats in Syria. Ankara has called for the expulsion of foreign Kurdish fighters from northeastern Syria and has said it wants to help its neighbor fight militants.
Russia and Ukraine each exchanged 307 of their service personnel on Saturday on the second day of an extended prisoner swap set to be the largest in the three-year war. U.S. President Donald Trump has suggested the swap, which should see 1,000 prisoners released on each side over 3 days, could herald a new phase in stop-start efforts to negotiate a peace deal between Moscow and Kyiv.
Saturday's swap was announced by Russia's defense ministry and separately by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in a post on social media platform Telegram. The first part of the exchange took place on Friday when Russia and Ukraine each released 390 prisoners, including 120 civilians, and said they would free more in the coming days. On Friday, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said that Russia would be ready to hand Ukraine a draft document outlining conditions for a long-term peace agreement once the current prison exchange was completed. Saturday's release took place a few hours after the Ukrainian capital was rocked by an overnight Russian bombardment using long-range drones and ballistic missiles, in which 15 people were injured.
Next, 10 dead in Columbia University outing, bus accident. Tens of thousands of Australians remained isolated and thousands were without power on Saturday, authorities said, as conditions in New South Wales and SW eased after days of heavy rain that caused widespread flooding.
Floodwaters were slowly subsiding, but more than 20 emergency warnings remained in place, with the focus shifting to assessing properties and delivering supplies to cut-off communities. NSW emergency authorities estimated up to 10,000 properties had been damaged by flooding, mostly in central and northern parts of the state. NSW State Emergency Services (SES) said many communities were still isolated, with 50,000 people estimated to be impacted. The death toll stood at 5 after the body of a man in his 80s was found at a property near Tari, one of the worst hit towns. SES Deputy Commissioner Daniel Austin said he expected the number of warnings to decrease over the weekend but urged motorists to avoid driving in flood waters. He said stagnant water posed a health risk and that vermin and snakes could make their way into homes. The storms dumped more than 6 months' worth of rain over 3 days, according to the Government Weather Bureau, smashing records in some areas.
At least 8 people died and 45 others were injured as a dust storm followed by rains lashed parts of Pakistan's Punjab province on Saturday.
The Provincial Disaster Management Authority (PDMA) said in a press release that the deaths were attributed to houses collapsing and people being in unsafe places. PDMA added that some homes were also damaged. In Lahore, the capital of Punjab province, trees and solar panels were damaged. As a precautionary measure to prevent accidents amid strong winds, dense clouds and reduced visibility, the motorway police temporarily closed several major highways. The PDMA also urged residents not to leave their homes. Punjab Chief Minister Mariam Nawaz Sharif directed local administrations and rescue services to remain on high alert amid continued storms and heavy rainfall. Taking notice of flooding in low-lying areas of Rawalpindi and other cities, the Chief Minister instructed administrative officials to take immediate action. She also emphasized the urgent need for drainage to minimize disruption and health risk. The storm followed a heat wave that continued through the week in parts of Pakistan. Pakistan's meteorological department had predicted a dust storm and thunder showers for the day.
A field trip by students and their professors ended in tragedy Saturday when their bus crashed in Western Colombia, killing at least 10 people and injuring 11. According to a preliminary investigation, the bus driver lost control of the vehicle as it carried 26 passengers from Terima to Cuendo.
Police Commander Luis Fernando Estoesta said several people were thrown from the bus when it slammed into the barrier on the side of the helicoil bridge in the Quindio region. He added that investigations were underway to establish the conditions of the unfortunate accident. Humboldt University in the Colombian city of Armenia said in a statement that it was declaring 2 days of mourning after the painful loss of several of the colleagues, students, professors and administrators in the accident. According to the National Highway Authority, road accidents are one of the main causes of death in Colombia, which averaged 22 traffic deaths per day in 2024.
Coming up, Salah crowned Premier League Player of the Season after stellar campaign. Starting off our sports segment this afternoon, Malaysia is guaranteed its first men's doubles title at the Malaysia Masters in 12 years as national pair Aaron Chiaso Woyik booked their spot for a historic civil war against compatriots Man Wei Chong Thi Kai Wun for the 2025 edition.
Buoyed by a dominant performance from Wei Chong Kai Wun in the earlier semi-final, the fourth-seeded pair stunned Denmark's top seeds and defending champions Kim Astrup Anders Sakrop Rasmussen in 64 minutes. Aaron Woyik were not at their best early on, trailing 9-11 at the interval, but they rediscovered their rhythm to edge ahead 15-14 and held their nerve in their closing moments to clinch the opening set 21-19. The world number 3 pair then lost their grip in the second set, struggling to find momentum as they surrendered the second set to the world number 1 duo 17-21. In the decider, the 2022 world champions came out firing at all corners, racing to a commanding 9-1 lead and marched to their maiden Malaysia Masters final with 21-15 thanks to a deadly powerful front shot from Woyek.
Mohamed Salah was named the Premier League Player of the Season on Saturday after the Egyptian enjoyed a stellar individual campaign as Liverpool cruised to their second Premier League title. Salah scored 28 goals and provided 18 assists to guide the Anfield club to the title, with Arne Slot's side winning it with 4 games to spare.
Having also earned the award in 2017-18, Salah became only the 5th player to win it twice after Thierry Henry, Cristiano Ronaldo, Nemanja Vidic and Kevin De Bruyne. The 32-year-old Egyptian is on course to win another Golden Boot for most goals in a season and is 5 strikes ahead of Newcastle United striker Alexander Isak going into the final day of the season on Sunday. No player before has had 46 goal involvements in a 38-game season, and Salah could even break the record of 47 held by Alan Shearer and Andrew Cole, who achieved the feat in a 42-game campaign when Liverpool host Crystal Palace at Anfield. With 6 more assists than any other player, Salah can become the first footballer to win the Golden Boot, Golden Playmaker and Player of the Season awards. Salah also won the Football Writers Association Men's Player of the Year for the 3rd time earlier this month.
Luka Modric, Real Madrid's most successful player and the 2018 Ballon d'Or winner, and Carlo Ancelotti, the most successful coach, bid goodbye on Saturday to an adoring crowd at the Santiago Bernabeu after a 2-0 La Liga victory over Real Sociedad.
Modric, who arrived from Tottenham Hotspur in 2012, cemented his place in the heart of Real midfield through his technical excellence and creativity, playing 591 games and winning nearly 30 trophies, including a record 6 Champions League titles. While his 13-year spell at the club is not yet officially at an end, Saturday's match was his last opportunity to play in front of the Spanish fans who have cheered him on through the years. The Croatian midfielder will sign off after Real's Club World Cup campaign, which begins next month. While Madrid's fans could still see Modric win another trophy, Ancelotti took his final bow on Saturday and ended his second spell in charge of the club in uncharacteristic fashion without any silverware to hold aloft. Despite that, the Italian will sign off as the most successful manager of a club that has come to embody success over its 123-year history. In his 2 terms, he has won 15 titles, including 3 Champions League titles, 2 Club World Cups, 3 European Super Cups, 2 La Liga titles, 2 Spanish Cups, 2 Spanish Super Cups, and 1 Intercontinental Cup.
Novak Djokovic battled from a set down to clinch his 100th tour-level title by beating Polish 6th seed Hubert Hurkacz 5-7, 7-6, 7-6 at the Geneva Open on Saturday.
The Serbian, who turned 38 on Thursday, becomes just the 3rd man in the Open era to win 100 ATP titles after American Jimmy Connors and Swiss Roger Federer. Djokovic's last title came when he won gold at the Paris Olympics last year. The latest triumph comes at the perfect time as the record 24 times Grand Slam champion bids for a 4th crown at the French Open, which starts later today. Djokovic banged down 6 aces and 34 winners in the contest, which lasted a little over 3 hours and 5 minutes, making it the longest clash of this year's tournament. Hurkacz had squandered a 4-2 lead in the decider as Djokovic clawed his way back to clinch victory in the tiebreak with an ace and stretched his career win-loss record over the 28-year-old Pole to 8-0. With the triumph, Djokovic is the first man to win a tour-level title in 20 consecutive seasons, with his first title coming at 2006 Amersfoort. He is also the oldest champion in Geneva Open history. Djokovic, currently ranked world number number 6 will face unseeded American Mackenzie McDonald in their opening round at Roland Garros.
Alex Marquez took the family bragging rights over the older brother Mark in the British MotoGP sprint race at Silverstone on Saturday. Fabio Di Gianantonio took third at the 7th race weekend of the 2025 season, with Marco Bezzecchi in 4th.
Alex Marquez on a Ducati Satellite Gresini bike finally topped the podium after finishing second in all 6 previous Saturday sprints. It moved the Spaniard to within 19 points of Marc Marquez ahead of Sunday's main event. Former 2-time world champion Francesco Bagnaia, the Ducati factory teammate of Marc Marquez, is placed third in the standings, 56 points off the lead. France's Fabio Quartararo, who had earlier taken his 3rd successive pole with a new Silverstone lap record, had to settle for 7th on his Yamaha. His compatriot Johan Zarco came in 5th after his Le Mans heroics when he became the first home rider to win the French MotoGP since 1954, a fortnight ago.
In cycling, Casper Asgreen grabbed a stage victory and Isaac Del Toro increased his overall lead on Saturday after several leading rivals were slowed by a crash as rain ruined Primož Roglic's parade on the Giro's day out in Slovenia. A largely flat 195-kilometer run from Treviso in Italy to Nova Gorička was set up for another mass finish, but the rain-slicked roads provoked a mass pile-up that split the peloton and toppled the hopes of several favourites, including local hero Roglic.
Mexican Del Toro, who had been looking over his shoulder at UAE teammate Juan Ayuso, increased his lead to a mere 1 minute 20 seconds as Simon Yates jumped to 2nd overall. Green was one of the fallers but bounced up and set off on the right side of the split with less than 20 kilometers to go after riders piled up on a cobbled corner entering the final loop round Nova Gorička for the first time. Of the leaders in the overall standings, Mexican Del Toro, Englishman Yates, Canadian Derek Gee and Ecuadorian Richard Carapaz were in the leading group. As the group passed the same spot on the next circuit, Del Toro lost control of his back wheel and only stayed upright after an alarming slide round the corner. Asgreen, the lone survivor of the original breakaway, finished 16 seconds ahead of his closest pursuers.
This year, the 46th ASEAN Summit and related summits bring together Southeast Asia's leaders for a more brighter and connected future.
With peace, prosperity, and partnership at heart, the summit paved the way for regional collaboration in trade, climate action, digital innovation, and more. More than a meeting of minds, it's a celebration of diversity, diplomacy, and determination. Join us as we write the next chapter of ASEAN's journey, inclusivity and sustainability. Welcome to the 46th ASEAN Summit and related summits.
Follow daily reports and live coverage on TV1, Saluran Berita, and RTM ASEAN.
Next, Dark Universe World revealed at Epic Universe theme park.
After days of torrential rain, Sydney was treated with a dry night for its 15th annual Festival of Light, Vivid Sydney, on Friday. Rain clouds cleared away just hours before lights on, with the double rainbow appearing above the Sydney Opera House before fireworks marked the official opening of the festival.
I think the live music, the whole atmosphere, the people, especially enjoying this beautiful weather. I think everything has gelled in very well. So overall, I think it's a total package. You can't indicate one thing, It's everything knit together.
Actually, it's really amazing. I did not realize when I booked my flight to Sydney that this event is actually happening during my stay. So I was blown away by the lights. Although I've been to other places with light show, but nothing quite can compare to this. So it's really amazing.
The Sydney Opera House was illuminated by deceased artist David McDiarmid's works 30 years after his death. An exploration of Australia's colonial history and First Nations culture by Indigenous artist Vincent Namatjira is featured on the Museum of Contemporary Art. Held over 23 days, the Vivid Festival will run from the 23rd of May to the 14th of June. Comcast continued to roll out of its new theme park Epic Universe by revealing its Dark Universe world. Mark Woodsbury, chairman of Universal Destinations and Experiences, said they carefully curated the park with the hopes of creating a full-week destination for visitors.
Universal has this long history of horror genre, particularly the classic Universal monsters, Frankenstein, Dracula, Wolfman, Invisible Man, the whole group of them. And so the idea of bringing them all back to life and reimagining them for the next generation was something that we thought was really compelling. And the results have proven it out. I mean, people are just over the moon about this, no pun intended.
An estimated $7 billion investment has doubled Universal's theme park's size, adding 750 acres and populating it with familiar movie and game characters, which it owns all licenses. It features 4 other themed worlds: the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, Ministry of Magic, Super Nintendo World, How to Train Your Dragon, Isle of Berk, and Celestial Park. Epic Universe represents the largest investment Comcast has made in Universal's theme parks since gaining control of the business in 2011. Analysts say it poses a heightened competitive threat to Walt Disney World, whose last major expansion was in 2019. Egyptian officials visited the Abu Mena archaeological site in Alexandria to inspect restoration efforts after rising groundwater put the UNESCO World Heritage Site at risk. The inspection tour included the UNESCO Cairo Director Nouria Sanz, Minister of Tourism and Antiquities Sherifati, and Coptic Orthodox Pope Tawadros II. The site, located southwest of Alexandria, once an early Christian pilgrimage hub, has suffered years of structural deterioration due to groundwater seepage from surrounding agricultural land, which is being contained by a dewatering project.
That concludes today's edition of World Today. In our top story, Myanmar-South China Sea on the table as ASEAN leaders meet for 46th summit. Till then, I'm Olivia Nicholas. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Thank you for watching and have a fantastic day.